Thank you so very much. And just to bring our panelists here up to date, so you're looking at a group of youth here. They are between 14 and 24, most of them, and they were trained to build their capacity in youth advocacy. So come and ask questions to know their rights about the Constitution. Some of the questions you've heard us asking earlier, to develop an advocacy priority for the parish. What are some of the main issues affecting the parish? Some of those things they were trained in, increasing their knowledge of their own constitutional rights, as you heard some of them so eloquently spoke about earlier on. And so generally, that's what it is about. As Empress mentioned, there are several issues, but before we have them ask you the questions, I'll allow each of you up here just to introduce yourself and tell us your role and responsibilities, and then we'll go straight into it, starting with the member from the Jamaica Constabulary Force in him brown suit. We're going to tell us him rank and him everything.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fitz-Albert Linton, and I'm in charge of Community Safety and Security. I'm an Assistant Superintendent of Police. And my role runs through St. Catherine North, spans from Spanish Town back to the Linstead side. And if you know the other side, back to Brownsall. I give you that definition just for you to understand the area a little bit. So basically, that's who I am.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Fitz Jackson, Member of Parliament for South St. Catherine, which is south of here, beginning just across the boundary from the bypass, go all the way back to the sea, the Caribbean Sea. So all of Greater Portmore, Elsha, and those areas in between are basically in my constituency. As a Member of Parliament, both Denise and myself, our responsibilities include making representation for the development of our respective constituencies in the first instance. But first, what's of great importance is that once elected to the Parliament, we collectively represent all of Jamaica. So while you have representation and responsibility for the geographic space and the persons who elect you there, the residents, our responsibilities do not end there. It is shared by all other 60, I'm one of 63. All of us collectively have to make pronouncements on policies, legislations that affect all of Jamaica.
Wonderful. No, I am certain I might surprise many of you inside here because my first name is Joyce. Joyce Denise Daly. So the middle name is really Denise. But from birth I've been using Denise as my first name. And I'm very comfortable with it. In so much that when I go abroad and they say Joyce, I don't know who they're talking about. But I represent Eastern St. Catherine. Let me just give you a little, I'm not so good at east, west, north, and south, but to tell you, I started the salt pond factory on your left, straight to Ferry. I share the town between MP Bobsy Grange and myself. The town, the square, is shared also between myself and MP Bobsy Grange. Then I goes to Sligoville, and we share between MP Natalie Nita and myself. So the constituency starts from Salt Pond Factory to Ferry, back to Sligoville, and in the town, the immediate town.
Thank you so
and
much.
I'm also Region Chair, Region 6, that comprises of Clarendon and St. Catherine for the People's National Party.
What are some of your responsibilities, Ms. Daly? What are you responsible for doing in your constituency?
Well, I would imagine that MP Fitz-Jackson already established, but I am really focusing more now on the youth, and that's why I was so excited to come here today, because we have started about 16 youth programs in the community, and we are also looking at the elderly, because we realize that the shut-ins sometimes tend to be forgotten. So my emphasis now is really to look at empowering the youth, and more so to make sure that we allow our elderly to live in a safe and comfortable environment in order that they will be able to help to impart some of the knowledge to the youth.
We had some of, clap them, every single body up here. We asked our youth to introduce themselves as well, not because they're here to answer questions necessarily, but because we're all equal and everybody want to know everybody. This is an interactive session, which is an exchange of ideas. So we're going to have this town hall under 5 broad themes, 5 themes that have been researched here yesterday generally. In addition to that, some of these would be breakdown here. So the lack of job opportunities after leaving school, limited training skills, poor road infrastructure, unsatisfactory transportation. But we're going to begin with the issue that 35% of youth in St. Catherine say is bothering them, and that is crime and violence. And so immediately I'm just going to invite Aisha to ask her first question right here, and she can direct it. Clap Aisha, please. Aisha said Jesus when we called her name a while ago.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like I
afternoon.
previously stated, my name is Aisha Graham. I actually have 2 questions who are somehow interrelated, and I will direct my question to the commissioner? The ASP, I'm sorry. My bad. All right, so my question is, what are your plans and strategies that are implemented to make unsafe communities safer, especially for women and children?
All right. The St. Catherine North Division is one that is largely, what should I say, affected in some area or the other where crime is concerned. And part of what we do as strategy to ensure that these communities are safe is to step up our patrol. That's the main thing. We have placed police presence in almost every community across the division, though limited to some extent based on resource constraint, but we ensure that we do our general patrol across the communities. What we have also established is that type of a cooperation between the citizens using the youth club, the neighborhood watches across the division to link with the community and to somewhat strengthen our presence by being in there through them. Part of what we do in that approach, we have established a WhatsApp group. So we have that immediate talk. So something is happening in your community, rather than calling 119 or going through some area that might be challenging to you, we are able to talk to the community face to face via the WhatsApp group. So patrolling is one of our major area, and also community policing. Those are the 2 main areas that we've been focusing on.
All right, I'm glad that you mentioned police presence. So my other question is, no matter how much police presence is in Spanish Town, we still don't feel safe. Why?
All right, as I said earlier on, that crime is at an high across the country, and Spanish Town is one of the areas where we have seen major crime take place. But I want to assure the citizens of Spanish Town, including yourself, that if you look at what is happening, if you walk into Spanish Town and you look at police presence, what is simply seems to be happening is that violence seems to be part of our culture now. That is what is happening. And I am happy that this group of youth that is sitting here is so focused, that we understand that we can't simply do violence to satisfy some of our needs, satisfy some expressions. We speak them in our languages, we act them out in what we wear, what we do. Our culture tend to do that, and we see it as nothing. Therefore, the effort of the police will continue to be running after, chasing after what is happening, because each time you pick up on something and you try to nip it in the bud, there is something else coming after you through what we refer to as culture. So this forum today is helping us. This is why I'm here. It's helping you, and it is helping this division, Spanish Town more so. And I want to ask of you young people that when it comes on to gun is not a toy, it's not anything to be singing about, it's not anything to be bragging about. Walking with weapons. You seize 100 weapons today, tomorrow you get 150 more. You are chasing after the devils that are out there in terms of what they are doing, what the youths are doing, or persons in general are doing. So it's not that the police not doing, it's just that we need to speak to some added thing to our culture that we need to now say no to them. So no to gun, no to walking with implements and weapons to do destructive thing. But we find a way to talk, and this is what you are doing now. So talk up youth, just talk. Find somebody to talk to. Find the member of parliament, find the police, find the pastors, find the teachers, find the counselors. Find them and let us talk and put an end to violence. It's not just for the police, but it is the police and the citizen that will work together to put an end to crime and violence.
Yes, I'm particularly struck by the last question you asked. Why are you fearful, notwithstanding the presence of police? And why that question is of such importance is the fact that as a country we speak quite often about the high murder rate. We oftentimes ignore the high level of shootings, which in my mind is near death. They shoot the gun, it never killed the person, but could have killed the person. You combine the high level of shootings with the high levels of murder, which has been increasing in recent years. That is what drives the fear. Because you, like many others, you become closer to someone who has been the victim of crime, either been murdered or been shot at, or actually got shot. So it's twofold. We have to seek to reduce the levels of murder. We have to seek to reduce the levels of shootings. Once those levels go down in any significant way, then your degree of fear, no doubt, will reduce. Because in your mind, like all of us, the likelihood of it happening to you would be less. You feel fearful, all of us feel fearful, because in your mind, the likelihood of you being a victim is very high. So on the one hand, we have the country, and this is where the government comes in, have to strengthen their capacity to, one, identify the perpetrators of the crime, apprehend them, find them wherever they are, of course through intelligence development capabilities, to find them and to build strong cases that when they go to court, they are convicted and they are locked away. Now, why that is important, if all of us feel a sense that the criminals are being apprehended and being tried and being locked away, no doubt that will also help to suppress your levels of fear. And by the way, why the fear is of significance is that it impacts on the quality of your life. All of us, regardless of where we live, regardless of how much money we have, if you can't enjoy all of that, no matter what amount of education you would have acquired, if you can't enjoy those things, then the quality of your life gets much less. So it's critical for us to see to the reduction of murder, reduction of shooting, improve the capacity of the country to apprehend criminals and to lock them away, convict them. You have a higher of the cases of shootings, for example, you have about 50% of clear up, meaning you're able to identify who is responsible, and another 50% not cleared up. But then you have another 4 to 6% conviction rate. So in many criminals' mind, the chances of being caught is very low, and the chance of being convicted is very low. When you combine all of those things together, then you have the problem that you have, which is shared by, regrettably, so many of us in Jamaica. So that for me is where the focus ought to be, to deal with what concerns you as it does thousands of Jamaicans.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jackson. Thanks for your question as well, Aisha. Before we go on to the other question, we just want to invite our other representative here, Member of Parliament, who just entered, just to introduce himself for us as well.
I'm Leslie Campbell from Northeast St. Catherine. That is the area dealing with Troja, Guys Hill, that area around there.
May Mr. Campbell feel welcome, man, Spanish Town youths. All right, just want to invite you, just to introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, and who your question is directed to.
Good afternoon, my name is Onila Brown, I'm from Ensom City, Spanish Town. My question is to ASP. I had a question, but I think I'm going to change it and turn it a little less. You said there's less resources in patrolling. Is it that the sense that you have it that crimes and violence are mostly active in Garcia here, so police cars cannot be patrolling in schemes? Because I live in a scheme and I cannot tell when last I saw a police car patrolling, and there's a high level of crime and violence in my scheme. And it's a scheme with concrete houses, nice roads, and flowers. So I'm just asking if there's a sense that we have to call the police for them to come and patrol, or to see, or the police are waiting for a crime to happen in schemes so that they can come and patrol, or is it just garrison alone on a patrol? That's my question.
All right. When it comes on to the resources across the division as it relates to patrol, we use them as best as possible, bearing in mind though that there are some areas that sees more crime than others. And those areas would have taken up a good chunk of our resources. However, we have not neglected any community would have done patrol, whether it be through the course of the night or some aspect of the day. Just though that what may not happen, the quality time that you would want to see us in that space, your community, you have not seen us. So the fact that you have not seen, maybe a survey from other persons in your community could say whether or not the police presence is in your community. I would understand you saying that you are not seeing us as often as you'd want to see us, but it does not necessarily say that the police is absent. We are in just about every community. It's just a pity you did not say the community. I'm not going to ask you to name it. But we have not neglected any community across this division, any at all. We are in this space, we are doing the patrol, but just to say that there are some that is getting our attention more than others as it relates to what is happening in this space.
As I mentioned that, thank you so much for your question as well. As I mentioned that, is Devona here? Devona? Devona has a question. Devona is from Angels Grove, and it's actually related as well because it's a community as it relates to crime and violence. So go ahead with your question, Devona.
And as she comes up with her question, Gio, I just want to say that I heard our friend say that there's violence in her scheme. So I'm hoping that the dialogue continues after today and you do find out the scheme so that then you can go in.
I was reminded that she did make mention of the community, and
no,
that
but you
community.
can meet later. After, you can have a one-on-one, which is a part of the dialogue.
We will do that. But
yes,
just
please.
want to, for the record,
yes.
I want to make it clear that the police is in that community. We are in that community.
Although you don't know which one, but you're in all. All right, sir. We'll continue. But it's important. Will you share with him the scheme later? Okay, thank you.
She did make that.
Oh, she did?
That's what I'm saying, that she did. I was reminded.
Oh, that's how you know. I
Right,
missed it.
right.
I'm here listening to. My apologies.
And some
My
city is the
apologies.
community.
Oh, yes. Okay, okay.
Go ahead, Devona. Similar question.
Yes. Aisha kind of did have this similar question. The only thing is that my question is more specific to my scheme.
Not a problem.
Okay. So in my community, Angels Grove, there have been a lot of robberies taking place, both house robberies and persons being attacked. Residents such as myself, we can't even walk with our phones, our purse, just to go to the Angels Plaza. So I wanted to know, how can the police help us in going about together and preventing this issue from occurring?
All right. One of the things that I try to speak to communities about, and I want to pass that on to you, is that whilst the police presence is always important, we want to ask the community to form yourselves into groups. You want to have your neighborhood watches. You want to have your youth group. And as I said earlier on, a good WhatsApp group in your community is always helpful. I'm seeing the community putting themselves into WhatsApp group, and they are posting, and we are getting the information, we are acting on them. So I would want to encourage you, you ask how you can do that. Adding features. We are there, maybe not as often as you want us, and as I said before, because the resources are stretched thin across the division. But what we can do from a distance, working with you and to help where that is concerned, is to be a part of your group. So even before you call, we are watching your discussion in the group, and we know that this is an area that we need to put some focus on. Based on what happened last night, we'd put something in there to prevent that this morning, because we are talking. So I'd ask just about everyone that is sitting in here, if you are part of a community group, make sure that you have police personnel that is living in your community on it, and also get persons from the stations in your police district to be part of those groups. It is very much helpful.
Thank you.
So the police want to be more involved with you to help you solve the crime. So it has to be an exchange, a mutual exchange. Talk up you, Mr. Faye.
Talk up you.
Good stuff. Go ahead with your question. Just tell us your name, where you're from.
All right, I am Danielle Robertson Coburn. I am from Linstead, St. Catherine. I have 2 questions for you, ASP.
ASP, you want a bottle of water? You want the next one? Because
I'm managing well.
we just have 2 more questions on this topic and then we'll move on because our other panelists are here as well. We have other topics.
My first question is based on a question that Aisha asked. It's concerning the safety of women and children. I know people who have been involved in domestic violence, and you said that we're supposed to speak to someone. Why is it that when we report it or we speak to someone, it seems as if that these reports have fallen on deaf ears, or it takes months for you to hear back something about it?
All right. What I will tell you that there are some instructions around domestic violence. And even to date, I can pull my record to speak to the reports that are coming in. I can pull it right here if I have the time so to do, if I'm allowed, to make you aware that no longer is the case where domestic violence is something that the police push away. So if you go to a station and you're having a problem, I'm going to make a suggestion that you try to speak to the officer in charge there. Try to do that. It is the duty of the police to attend to every reported domestic violence. Once it is reported, it must be dealt with. And I have left, my base is really in Spanish Town, and I've come to Linstead to treat with the domestic violence issue. We do counseling where that is necessary. We make referral where that is concerned. Where there's a need to put a matter before the court, it is being done presently as we speak. So if there's a case in point that you're referring to, please see me before I leave here.
Sure, not a problem. My second question is on the topic of community policing. Are police officers that live in the community itself involved in community policing?
All right, yes. What they may not do, you may not see them as often as you want, and bear in mind that they are living in the community but they are working elsewhere. And the truth is, when a policeman goes out to work and he gets back into his community, he wants some time to rest to go to work again. Some of us wouldn't mind having them working where they are and working their community 24/7, but they would need some time for self and family. However, what they will do, they may not sometimes involve directly, but they will pass those information on because they know the persons to speak to where these things are happening, whether it be the commanding officer, the community safety officer, the crime officer. In my community, for example, where I am living, I don't get a chance to do anything in there. I can't because I'm out every single day. But if my neighbor, if a friend, somebody tells me about something that is happening in the community, I know who to call. So I stay at my work and help to get something done in my community. So that's how it works, really.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so very much for that question. Go ahead, just let us know where you're from.
Hi, good
Final 2 questions on crime now so we can move on and give ASP a little breather.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jervian Johnson, and I'm from Windsor Road in St. Catherine. I'm also the Youth Member of Parliament for South Central St. Catherine.
Clapper, 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 clapper. Another youth member of parliament is beside her, so just stand up just so we can acknowledge her. She's the youth member of parliament for South East St. Mary. That's a constituency that was recently won by Norman Dunn. So our youth members of parliament are well represented. I do believe we have a youth member of parliament on the Talk Up Youth team as well. Isn't Romario Sterling a youth member of parliament? So that's Romario Sterling there. Stand up now, Romario, make us see you, man. Pick up yourself. Clap him, please. Another youth member of parliament on team. You're a youth member of parliament as well. That's why you're so bright. You're well intelligent. You know, what's your constituency? South Manchester. So we have several youth members of parliament here. Go ahead with the question.
Okay, when I think about crime and violence and even unemployment, I think it's a very complex problem, and there are so many questions actually that come into my mind, but you know, I want to just ask a few of them. Well, actually, I think there are many root causes to crime and violence, such as, you know, it could be just improper parenting, or even the structure of mind where solving or conflicts are concerned. Now, I heard mention like some of the programs that are in place to reduce the crime and violence, but sometimes I feel like it's just a band-aid and the actual issues are not being resolved. And of course, those are important in the short term, but what I really wanted to ask are, what are the long-term goals where solving crime and violence is concerned in terms of focusing on addressing the root causes of crime and violence? All right, and maybe the ASB, or anyone can answer.
Yeah, but you can respond as well.
Yes. There are a lot of issues that contribute to the generation of crime. And in the discussions earlier on, I think it was touched on. Criminals are not born.
Mm-hmm.
People are, by experiences, are shaped into criminal behavior. And for that reason, it is critical that the socialization period of young persons' lives, not just boys, but also girls, though it's a fact that most of the perpetrators of crime are boys. And the research is out here that confirm that the absence of parental influence is a major, major contributor. And just being present is not good enough. Being present in the homes or in the lives of young people is not good enough. It's the extent to which authority is exerted by those adult persons. And I deliberately say adult persons because that would include both the parents and adults in and around. We know the African adage or proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. I was born and raised in Lloydersville in St. Catherine here, and I can tell you that I was not a child of my parents alone. I was a child of the entire community who exerted adult authority over me. That even me now as a grown adult, my behavior is circumscribed by my responsibility to all the people in that community, though they have passed away. So yes, then we go beyond that to the schools, the church, communities that we belong to or we interact with. So I want to agree with you that in order to ensure that we are producing less crime producers, we have to start at that early stage, and the reduction will take place over time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Are there any plans, or what I'm asking is, are there any plans by, I don't know, the member of parliaments, the government, to actually put in programs or implement programs that can allow for this transformation?
Well, let me be frank with you. Government can't be parents.
Right.
And that's where we come in as citizens. We have to begin to take responsibility. And when you see a parent that is behaving irresponsible, you have to now come in. And the SP mentioned about the Citizen Association. Advocacy becomes a critical role. Organizing your citizen association to engage the individuals, the parents in those communities, because every child belongs to a parent. Every misbehaving child belongs to a parent. So if you organize in your community, you can bring collective numbers to bear on that parent, and you involve the Community Services Department of the JCF to assist you. And you have the SDC that is there to also assist you. But I believe at that level, the community has to take charge. The days are long and over when we know business about nobody else. Because next person's misbehavior or criminal behavior impact on your life also. We all belong to each other.
Okay, I agree with that. I just have one more question. Well, this is not just as it relates to Spanish Town or St. Catherine, but even in the urban, town areas, you have a lot of violence. Like even close to University of Technology, UWI, there's a lot of violence, especially to students. Well, I'm just throwing this out there, like using this opportunity to throw it out there. It is not a solution, but it is in the interim. This is something that is just a recommendation, because we trust. For me, I'm very, very afraid. Like these days, like more than before, I'm really like this fear is really there. And even when, especially where taxis are concerned, taxi drivers. And nowadays, it's not just the male, but the females who are in the crimes or starting the crimes. So I was wondering if the Jamaica Urban, the JUTC, if they could, I don't know, put in some taxi service, because, I don't know, it's more, for me, I feel safer taking a JUTC bus than, regular buses. So I don't know if they could somehow implement some taxi services, for regular persons.
But you have taxi services all around. And I saw an announcement recently about new franchises or taxi franchises to be issued. What I think I hear you saying, which I want to support, is that the government, which is not the JUTC but the Transport Authority now, who issue these taxi permits, is to be more prudent in making sure that the persons that they're licensing and giving authority to drive and pick up persons legally are of character, that people can have confidence in, that there are sufficient reference being done, reference check being done on these persons, and make sure that there's some monitoring. But they will tell you that that may not be their responsibility. But I believe because they are the providers of the transport, they then should work in collaboration with the police in ensuring that you minimize, not necessarily eradicate altogether, but minimize the level of likelihood that those persons operating taxis are not doing something more than taxi work, but criminal activities too.
Okay, thank you. I have other questions.
There is something though that I want to help you with as you ask that question. I want for you to understand, and everyone that is here, that many of the challenges that we're having where persons are considered to be, whether be kidnapped or abducted, is not necessarily through the legal taxi system. So I want to implore you that you don't just go out and take any car. Look for the prescribed taxi operators. The taxis are route taxis or Hackney Carriage, whatever. You know them, you can know them if they're operating from your scheme, from Spanish Town to wherever you're going. You know them, you develop a knowledge of these operators over time. Make sure that you pay attention to those operators. Don't just jump into any vehicle that comes along. This is where you have a problem. And then what you may now need to do, if you are moving away from your regular taxi operator, before you even enter that vehicle, make sure that you would have seen the license plate. You pass that information on to a friend, text it. Somebody may not even answer you. Send it in your WhatsApp group. I'm in taxi. That you text it on. Should in case something happens, somebody would be able to say, you have last sent that text message at X time, and you were saying that you were in this taxi. So you give us a starting point, something to work. We need to become aware of our surrounding and the things that we are doing. So I want to implore all of you who are taking taxis, make sure you are taking taxis that are prescribed taxi. It's not any vehicle that is considered a taxi. Not any vehicle. They are registered under the Transport Authority, make sure. And even if you are taking those, and you develop a relationship over time by traveling with that driver, make sure that if the driver changed, then you pass that on to a family member. Okay. All right? I trust that will give you some guide.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much for your question. Final question now on crime, so we can move on to the infrastructure. Is your uncle? Line up that video for me by Jerome. Go ahead with the question.
My name is Brittany Williams. I'm from Garden Pen, and I just want to indicate that crime doesn't happen by gunmen alone. They happen by unsound mind, which we call madman. There was once an incident where my sister, who works at the Spanish Town Hospital as a nurse, who was run down by madman saying that him joke her with the needle and tell him where him give her, what she give him. So I want to know if their life is at risk in those ways that they can't even get to help other person if they're having what do they say?
Madmen attack them.
Having their life at risk. So is there anything incorporated for them whose life is at risk?
All right, let me just ask you a quick question. Is this mental challenged person from the community?
No, it's not. It's in, he's about in the Spanish Town area.
All right, one of the things I want to ask us to do, that there are some of these persons who, not everybody that you see goes dirty along the street are really unsound of mind. the police along with the mental health department, we will, or the public health department rather, we from time to time do some, picking up and treating with. However, if it is not being reported and if this person is not considered to be a threat, we will not just go up and just, remove him, because the person is dirty, does not necessarily speak to the person being of unsound mind. The police is not trained to just look at somebody and to say this is a madman. That's for the public health department. So we work along with the health department to treat with these matters once they are doing their operations out there. However, if there's a specific individual, as you have mentioned, please report it, whether it be to the public health and to the police, and then we will treat with it accordingly.
But what I see is that even when it is being reported, it's like them send them back to get a next injection and them go back on the road.
All right, again, that is not for the police, but what I'll say to you is that gone are the days when we'll pick up somebody we consider to be of unsound mind and so we're taking them to Bellevue. It doesn't work like that anymore. They are going into the public health department, same place where you and I will go. And if they are treated by the doctor and released, there's nothing else we can do about it. If there's another offense that is being committed, we take them again and we take them back there.
Sounds as if this needs follow-up and proper exploration, and that is something that's beyond your actual capacity right now. But moving into the other issue now, thank you so much for your question, all right, of infrastructure. We have this video to start off this section by one of our advocates here, Jerome, who will expound on his issue. Go ahead.
All right, good day. My name is Jerome Williams. I'm from Ensom City, Riverside Park, and I'm here to talk about the pollution of my area. On the riverbank, there have been a lot of dumping of garbage there, and it's causing a lot of pollution in the air. It's causing mosquito breedings and all. Now, a couple of days back, some men come into the area, stole a couple of cars, and no one could help them because there's no participation in the scheme, in the community. There's no one helping each other. There's none of that. And at times, I really wish that there could be someone to come around here and even call a meeting and talk to everyone around here. Now, the pollution and the stealing, and then there's these youngsters on the streets drinking, smoking, and gambling. It's not good. It's setting a bad example for the younger ones in there. Now, the younger ones, there have been a lot of complaints that they are going out of the community and been stealing as well. And that is not at all good for the scheme. It's bringing down the name of the scheme. It's turning the scheme where I live into a bad area. You understand? And I don't really like that. It's not good. And I just wish that probably one day, if it's not Mrs. Grange or Mr. Moody, could come around here and see what's going on around here and help out.
There are some pictures attached as well, just to demonstrate. There we go. There we go. There we go. Mr. Campbell, issue of garbage collection, it's not unique to this constituency. It's an issue that has been affecting Jamaica. Just December last year, major pileup of garbage across the island, especially in the corporate area, because of some issues at the Riverton landfill and issues with the NSWMA. How do we fix this issue that's clearly a problem island-wide?
Well, this is not just an issue of garbage. It's a general breakdown in law and order. And that's where it starts, because there are laws in place to control our dealing with garbage, and for that matter, any level of activity that we're getting involved in. But there is a resource issue presently, and I know that to apply to all the areas across Jamaica, but I think there's some attempt being made to boost the service. But of course, when you speak to the NSWMA, I think they're presently short of somewhere in the region of 25 units, or they're attempting to. Yeah. But I think there's an attempt now. I think the last figure I heard from Desmond McKenzie, the minister involved, is that he's ordered 12 new ones. I don't know if that will solve the issue or in this locale, But at least there's some attempt being made to, but I think the issue goes a little deeper than that. It has to deal with the communities. And may I just say, to combine with the violence issues, because I don't see them as being unrelated. We have to be prepared as a community to make some sacrifices. And one of the sacrifices that I would propose is that we give up some of our rights. And I say this...
What do you mean by give up rights?
We are very much, we're after privacy. We love our privacy. But the time has come, I believe, when we have to accept that some greater level of intrusion has to take place in terms of where we put cameras and where they feed into a central unit so that we can monitor what is going. We really don't have eyes placed in every community. And if we have cameras placed there, we'll see the people who are going in and who are dumping and who are committing violence. So if we have those communities being monitored by cameras and other, things are being beamed up to satellite and they're being monitored from a central unit, the response teams can come in much more quickly. So that if in Gordon Pen or for that matter, it's being monitored from Central Spanish Town, we can say to a standby unit which is on Brunswick Avenue or somewhere, listen, there's some illegal activity taking place in Gordon Pen, go to it immediately. But it means that other activities that we are involved in are going to get caught. So this is where I say, the time may very well have come for us to accept a greater level of intrusion. But of course, that is subject to a greater level of debate.
Ms. Daly wants to add. Go ahead, Jerome.
I just want to add.
Go ahead, go ahead, Ms. Daly.
I just wanted to add in regard to the clean and safer communities. I believe my colleague here, I'm certain that he knows that it's almost over 200 trucks needed. They said about 64 to 65 need repairs. And I don't think we have more than probably about 30 something or 40 that is working. But I just want to go a little further. We have some responsibility as citizens. That's right. And we are not carrying it out first and foremost. Take for instance the Gully Bank. Majority of the garbage you see in there comes from household. I would blame, call it that we have a two-sided thing. We have one, the government not collecting on time, but two, how we dispose with our garbage. I don't believe we have any care when it comes to how we treat our garbage, and we need to be more careful in terms of our disposal. The second thing I would want to speak to, because I would not want to leave here and not to say anything about the gully banks. The gully banks are high risk for persons who live there. And many, many times, the reason why we have so much problem in the gullies is because people go and settle where they ought not to live. Some of them don't have any other choice because they do not have the lands to put up houses, and therefore they find any useful property or any piece of idle land to put up a house. But it is unsafe. For me, in my constituency, when there is rain, I worry a lot because most of my citizens or my constituents lives on some of the gully banks. And as soon as the rain starts, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, they start calling at 2 o'clock. So we really need to look at the physical infrastructure. We really need to go back now and look at how we assist individuals to go to safe places to live so that they can protect the environment.
All right. Does that answer your question, satisfy your issue, Jerome? All right. Yes and no, he says. He has a follow-up. His member of parliament, by the way, is Ms. Olivia Grange. We will be sending his video, I'm being told, to Ms. Grange for her to respond to see what she will be doing. Youth as well, if you're here and you don't sure who your MP is, just raise your hand and let us know if you don't know who your MP is, so we can tell you. You can tell us your community, and they can let us know if they are your representative, and if whatever issue you have, that you would want them to address, just tell us. So just raise your hand and come and tell us right here after Jerome. Jerome, go ahead and with a follow-up.
Yes, as you
In
were
the meantime, I just want to
saying
invite
about garbage
Shevin.
dumping and so on, differently. I went around today and talked to most of the elders and children in the place. So the elders were telling me that yes, most of them are dumping around the place because of the garbage truck that has been coming late and sometimes not at all. So their house has been getting filled of more garbage. So they find a different way to dispose of it. I'm not saying that throwing it into the bank is right, but they have to find somewhere to put it because it's, yes. And differently on a picture that was showing, I don't know if you can go back on it right now, but at the time, I wasn't really looking around, but I saw some things and people tell me different things. Now, right here, there's been dumping there too, but it was over more in the bushes, so I couldn't really get to go in there. But differently, people told me about there. There's a little part there where you can see, there's a track. They go through there to go to the main road more easily so they can get their taxis. But in the bushes there, people always hide, like people from Garden Pen and different parts of the scheme. Hide in the bushes. When people coming down or going up, they come out of the bushes, hold them up, rob them, take away their goods, everything. And
let you just come up and add as well. Is someone from the same area?
Yes.
And while we're here talking about that, it'll be I'd ask the MPs and ASP to also tell us if Olivia Grange is your member of parliament and we're going to send this to her, what do you suggest she should do to address this as an MP within her capacity? Because I think it's important for the young people to understand what can you do that you cannot do, because this is not your constituency, it's happening in the others. So I think we...
That's true. That's
yes,
true.
go
That's
ahead.
right. And differently, she did do something for us. We made a complaint about the roads and the light. The lights were changed and everything. Yes, we appreciate that. The roads were fixed. We appreciate that as well. But differently, we've been sending other complaints about things that has been happening, and we haven't seen anything been done about it. So, yeah.
Basically, people in our community, they are self-centered because from the starting, everybody's sector themselves to themselves, so therefore nobody would have just come out and just, all right, everybody had just come up on Labor Day. It not to be a specific day and the college has to say, yes, it's Labor Day to come and clean up. But sometimes if our MP would have just donated like walkers or little rakes and shovel, and we could have just help ourselves to do it. But when you have to go get up and take it out of your pocket, you're going to say, no man, John live right there and John not do it, so me not do it either. So it's a big issue, and the mosquito problem because of the garbage, it just continue. There's all this issue on top of issue on top of issue.
Wow, thanks so much. Mr. Jackson, as you're about to respond, one of the things as well is that in your constituency, Portmore, it's known as the mosquito capital of the world in terms of the size. And one of the problems she mentioned as well is mosquitoes. What is being done about that? Because if I'm a little bit, I hear about mosquito in Portmore and nothing has changed.
Okay, I'll come to that in a second. But first of all, a very interesting point you make. The garbage infrastructure challenge is twofold. For young people, and you're all about how you can use through the governance arrangement help to make things different for you. Advocacy is critical. Bonding together. MPs listen to groups quicker than they listen to individuals.
Clapping because we were trained in that yesterday. Thank you.
Yes.
Remember what we said yesterday?
Yes.
You have power in numbers. Thank you, MP.
Yes, I listen because you're speaking for more than just yourself. And when you organize in a group, I as an MP know that it is not an individual challenge. It's a collective problem that requires greater urgency of attention than just an individual. Secondly, and MP Leslie, I want to support you, but also to say regarding the the cameras. I really don't believe it's an intrusion because the cameras are really being placed in public spaces. And public spaces cannot make for an intrusion in your personal life, your personal being. Those public spaces, you ought not to do private things, right? It is shared by everybody, and therefore what you do is of interest and concern to everybody. And why that is important? Because it speaks to personal responsibility. Yes, there's a resource constraint. There's over 200 trucks, Leslie, that MS Solid Waste said they need, and it's about 100 they have. They have about 20-something new ones and about 60-something ones which are working but on and off because they have to repair them from time to time. You have that constraint, but we have a responsibility as citizens. They have more garbage to collect out there because there's more garbage thrown out there. If there's less, then it allows the resources to go further. And that's where the camera thing comes in, right? And we have to be that extended eyes to the camera. Don't leave it to the camera. All in all, it is saying, young ladies and young gentlemen, the spaces in our community collectively belong to us. And we have to assert ourselves. This attitude I've left in it to them, government, to them MP, to them councillor, not getting us anywhere. Because when the problem persists, all of us become victims of it. When all of us participate, we share in the benefit of it. I want to see young people taking a more assertive role, taking greater responsibility for their surrounding. This place is yours as it is in ours. The mosquitoes, right, in Portmore. You make it sound as if it's permanently a mosquito capital. It is not so. But really what you have, when Portmore is a place that rain don't fall very frequently, very infrequently. And there are places where the water will settle and it becomes great breeding space for mosquitoes. And we emphasize oftentimes ongoingly to our residents, don't keep cans and things that can hold water in the open spaces. Rainfall, more likely the water will either run off or soak away and it becomes less a breeding space, a breeding site. But we have like areas in Elsha with a lot of rocks, and the cavities in the rocks become holding vessels for water, and they become temporary breeding sites for mosquitoes from time to time. So it is not a permanent one. I don't want you to make out my place to be the mosquito capital in the world. But we do have mosquito challenges when we have those periodic rainfalls.
All right. You have a question? Shevin, can I see the hand for Shevin? You had a question as it relates to infrastructure. Come up, go ahead while you ask.
I am not directing to the MPs because MPs is a whole constituency you have to oversee. So you won't be at every crips and corners to see everything that is happening in the communities. But like councillors, that's a problem. Today I wanted to see a councillor sitting up there, but
let me just add that we did invite councillors. You have 11 members of parliament for St. Catherine. I just want the young people to know we reached out to everybody, and we always do. Some have schedules, some are busy, some just don't turn up. Some say they come in, they don't turn up. Terrelong said he was coming. Orlando Terrelong, is anybody in his constituency? We thought he was coming, and then today we wake up and he says he's not coming or he hasn't turned up. We want to apologize for MP Fagan, who had a car issue and did call and say that he can't make it again, and he did say he was going to be here. The rest of them, I don't know what the response was. Marilyn would have to clear that up. Councillors, some said they were coming. It shows you whether or not this is important enough for some, but some do have other activities they were scheduled for. But there is a way through Talk of You that will connect you and show you how to connect after today. This is just the
beginning.
This is the incubator.
Start.
This is start. This is
embryonic stages.
I think that's why I love
Enough more things are going to happen.
Enough more things are going to happen. So the councillors aren't here, but the MPs can speak to maybe what the councillors are supposed to do, how we reach out to the councillor them, because I'm sure you have dialogue with them, and your roles are different, so we need to understand how it works. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
man. But we love the question them so far though. I love the pointedness of the questions and the issues being addressed. And I like it. So continue and continue seeking answers of them. All right? Go ahead.
So you were saying you're not happy with your counselor?
No.
Okay.
As I was saying, from the Ensom City, I lived there for 12 years, and I can honestly say it was last year when some people came in about a youth club, and we decided to write to the Prime Minister about the roads and stuff. That was when I met the counselor for the first time in my life.
Who is your
And
counselor?
Mr. Da Costa? Oh, Moody. Mr. Moody. I have never seen that man until last year, and then I didn't see him until this year when they came about the same meeting about roads and mosquitoes and said they were going to address this issue.
All right.
That is the thing with counselors. We as a community member go to the counselors, distress our concern to them, and yet still, it's like they don't care. It's like we MPs are busy and they won't be able to come and say, I am here, so tell me what is the issue or what is the problem in your community. We tell the counselors like ignore us until near to election, soon election, or because something is to be done in the community. They come, yes, they're the council of the year. I don't understand that. I really don't understand it, and I'd really like some clarity on that. If you're going to talk to the councillors, or let them know that you cannot be a councillor for an area and you only know one group of persons.
Can I help you quickly?
Go ahead. There's a related issue as well. Just allow the young lady behind you just to tell us where she's from and her MP. She has she explained a similar issue with an MP in this instance, not a councillor. Just step forward for me, please.
My name is Nikara Campbell.
Just speak into the microphone.
My name is Nikara Campbell. I am from Kissington.
Yes. Who is a member of parliament?
Christopher Tufton.
Right.
From the wind, the road is bad, the light is not working. When school over, we cannot come around by ourselves. We have to wait somebody big because thief and robbing us. People get gunshot around there more often, get robbed, stab up, house get on fire for court. So we cannot walk along, the road is bad, no taxi cannot come around there. So we don't even see the council or Christopher Thompson from the win.
The issue of representation, I want each MPs to respond. As we go along, folks, we'll just keep the questions short and just asking our representatives also, just keep the answers short and pointed so we have a few more issues that we want to address so we can let you go. We don't want to hold you hostage for too long. Go ahead, ACP.
I see the robberies keep on coming. It's a common feature across communities. Your community is one, Kissington, that we...
Lots of bushes around there, so...
Yes. You have, it's a bushy area, I know it well. But what I'll tell you is that there is almost 2 clubs I can remember, youth clubs in your community. And I heard it being said here, there is strength in numbers. I want you to play on that, act on that. The youth clubs in your community are not supported by the youths, talk up youths. You are not going to the youth clubs. These are the areas where you can voice your concerns. We are in your youth clubs. We come there from time to time. There's one in Bembury and there's another one in, can't remember the other place now, but there's 2. And I'm saying to you, amass yourself, gather yourself, go to these areas. You'll find your member of parliament coming there. You'll find the police coming there. And these are some of the areas that I am telling you that your representation can be made.
Neesberg Villa, there are 2 parks, Neesberg Grove and Neesberg Villa.
Yes, but we're in yes.
They mostly go Taylor Road, not Neesberg Villa.
Talk with the police, talk with Sergeant Constantine at Gville, and he'll tell you about the youth club up there.
Yes, sir.
All right, great.
You have a contact number she can reach the
Yes,
person?
I can give you a contact number
Please,
for him before
because she need the information and she sound like she really need the
Yes.
help. Talk up you, Mr. Fit. Talk up you, Musefi. So you're going to share the number with her?
I can share it publicly.
Yes, man, please.
371-8976. All of you can take that number. I'm your community safety officer, so just talk to me. I'll talk to GVL on your behalf. 371-8976. I repeat, 371-8976.
And just to remind you, his name and title, he's the Assistant Superintendent of Police, Fitz Albert Linton of the Community Safety Branch. All right, go ahead with your question. Shevin, you're next. I know you have a very important... Stand up, man. You're next. Go ahead with your question. Just tell us your name, where you're from.
All other protocols having been already observed. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Francis from Spanish Town. If I may digress a little to something that was said earlier, we have heard about the whole zeal and zest for locking up criminals, but might I add to that, while it is important that we lock the criminals up, some amount of that zest and fervor needs to be put on remediation for reintegration, because these same persons are going to come back into our communities, and more often than not, they come back more hardened than when they left. So we need to have some kind of remediation so that when they come out of the prisons, when they come out of the jails, they are more fit for reintegration. One of the ways that we can do that ties to the issue that I have, the issue with pollution. Now, it was said that the NSWMA is somewhat burdened by the whole issue of collection. So here is my solution, if I may be so bold enough to suggest it.
Yes,
right?
man.
We have these prisoners that we are locking up, and some of them are being locked up for hard labor, but what is this hard labor that they are being locked up for?
Yeah.
So we have drains that need to be cleaned. That seems like hard labor to me.
Yes.
We have garbage in communities. That seems like hard labor.
Yes.
We have bush that need to be cleared in communities. That seems like hard labor to me. Not only does it get rid of the garbage, but it teaches these individuals that we have locked up for hard labor some sense of responsibility.
Talk up you, Musefi. Mr. Jackson, your opposition spokesperson on national security.
That was just something. And then my question is this. I have to travel by Spanish Town Terminus to get to work every day. Whenever it rains, I almost have to swim across from the terminus to Pace Supermarket where Jimmy's is. I started working in September, and I've lost 2 pairs of shoes to that river. Right? I'm on the 3rd one right now. We haven't had much rain out there, thank God for holding the skies. But what is going to happen for that particular area? Right there between where Jimmy's used to be, it's now called Pace, and the Spanish Town Transport Center.
Serious, this is coming up. Talk up you, Musefi. I love that question. So you're the MP, it runs in your area?
So I said before, we share borders, myself and MP Bob the Grange. But just to say that it is a problem that I believe need more engineering, and I can tell you, the last budget I heard to do the drainage system in and around that area was $163 million. I personally believe, if we really want to talk up, that if we start with even 20, would reach somewhere. But you have to remember, when the technocrats give you a figure and you don't come up with that figure, don't care what you do, they're going to tell you that they cannot put it out for tender. And if you cannot put it out for tender and the government procurement guideline is not being followed, you're in another trouble. But I know what you're talking about. We suffer a lot in that area, and it is not something that we keep looking at without looking at ways and means to address it. We did something the other day with about 7 million, but it did not go anywhere. But we are working on it together, myself and the Member of Parliament, MP Bob the Great.
So again, just a suggestion to cut costs, prisoners at hard labor.
This is where Mr. Jackson comes in now.
When I become the next Minister of National Security, you'll be my advisor. So you will ensure that I make sure that that is done. And it's quite seriously something that I have engaged the correctional services on. Some time ago, we had some bushing work done in Portmore using prisoners. I written formally to the correctional services department seeking to get more engagement in that regard. the response I get, and it doesn't satisfy me, is that there is a big demand for the personnel who have to manage them when they take them out of the prisons to carry out work on the roads. But to the extent that it was done, not just in my area at the time, a few other areas, if it can be done once, it can be done again, and if you have challenges, you just modify it to make it workable. I think good ideas have to be allowed to work or made to work so that we can all reap the result. Twofold. You made a point about having prisoners adapt to join in the society. One of the problems with some criminals is that some of them just don't know how to work. You know, that's why crime become an easier avenue. So when they're in prison, you get them re-socialized to the discipline of work. It will prepare them for when they come out. Two, it will send a message to the rest of those criminal-minded youngsters that, look, this is not something I think you want to do. So you can, again, suppress the inclination for it. And three, you can also reduce the cost to the state of getting the services provided to the public. So yes, sir. I remember you, so you applied to be my assistant when I become National Security Minister.
And
Just
we will
quickly.
hold you accountable, sir.
Home can get in touch with you.
But quickly, in terms of the reforming and making sure that when people leave, especially the institutions, they come back out and to be able to integrate. I started a program and I gave the SDC the proposals. We started by some of the persons who come from prison and we know who they are. We look for them. We start them out with a 3-month rental for rooms. We give them a bed, a stove, and we give them some of them said they will take some phone cards for the time being just to get them integrated. It is not enough, but we need to expand and to look at it because what is happening, they are repeaters because when they come out, sometimes they don't even have a common place to lay their head. So the quickest opportunity they get is to go back to a place where they get a meal and to be able to have a roof over their head. So personally, I take it very seriously in terms of trying to integrate and trying to make sure that we make the change that they do not want to go back where they are coming from.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes.
Go ahead, Shevin.
May I just make one comment? Whilst I understand the need to have people serve, this hard labor, what we call it. You have to be mindful that you send, let's say you take 50 hardened criminals and send them out on the street with very little supervision. You may have 5, 6 correctional officers with 50 of these people. And let's say one man escapes that group and he then causes injury to a free person walking down the street. The state then becomes liable for whatever he does. And I think that is at the back of the minds of the administrators when they're thinking about whether or not to adopt a program like that. But
find a way to get it done.
That raises a
We
whole,
are going to see some of that.
A whole different set of issues. I do understand.
That is coming. Your question is being addressed presently by the ministry. And we will soon see the prisoners put to work if the plans that they are talking about holding true. I'm hearing the discussion. So these are considerations, President.
Just a point of clarification. I was working on the assumption that the correctional services well-thinking individuals, that they would not send 50 hardened criminals with 5 personnel, but I digress.
So proper security and measures that's a given that should be in place for something like that to happen. Okay, I like that line of questioning. It's an innovative way of thinking. Never heard about it much before here in our jurisdiction in Jamaica. And you're saying that it's coming, ASP?
I know that there are some discussions around putting the prisoners to work. You'll hear the minister speaking publicly about it as we speak. It is happening. So I'm expecting that within short order, we should see some changes in that field.
Okay, hard labor. Sharing of 2 issues, one with the names and one with water. Go ahead with the issues, Shevin.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Shevin Dawson, and I'm a restorative justice facilitator in the Ministry of Justice. I have 2 questions. how can you, as elected representative, help move the communities away from the pen? Example, Jones Pen, Dempsey Pen, and put it to Meadows, as it is a barrier for employment for people in the communities mentioned.
The community members, as I understand it, can make a petition to the local authority to have the name change. Again, this is where advocacy comes in. This is where the strength of numbers come in. A parish council cannot act upon the request by one or two persons. But if you collectively get together and put a petition together, I have one community in my constituency that is doing that right now. They have a name change down in Dunbeholden, and the petition is being prepared now by the residents, having had dialogue with them. So it is in your hands, ladies and gentlemen.
My next question, I don't know if my MP is here because I don't know the MP for my area.
Where are you from?
I am from Jones Pen.
Jones Pen. Who is the member of parliament for that area? Where's Jones Pen? Tell me some communities around Jones Pen.
Jones Pen is Jones Avenue side.
But brethren, in all fairness, that's a dereliction of duty on your part. Everybody must know the member of parliament. Whichever JLP or PNP doesn't matter.
First I'm saying, miss.
So who is the member of parliament? All right, go ahead.
He said it's the first he's seen me, and I have the justice here, the young justice, who have responsibility for that area. And I'm certain that we have worked tirelessly in every single thing. We have 146 unattached youth that we do a youth program. Coming out of your area, we have 11 youths that we did level 1 with, so it's not no fault of mine.
Well, my question that is posed to you, miss, what measures can you put in place for water to begin flowing in our community?
Water.
What measures can you put in place to begin for water to begin flowing in our community?
You are aware that it's an informal development taking place around here. You know that it's a government land, and you know that people went and they occupied the land without any infrastructure being put in place. There is a shortage of water. We have the Ministry of Agriculture who have their property that adjoins that community, and because of waiting to see whether or not we can get persons to own the land, we have been having several citizens association meetings around here. I don't know if you're aware. And they have reached the stage where they have gotten to the point now that they are going to now remove that group titling and to give individual title, so that they'll be able to get some kind of empowerment that we can move forward to get water. But the water cannot go in there because Fisheries is not giving their water to New Nursery. New Nursery don't have any water to facilitate the communities that they built up because it is informal. But we are working on it again. You could speak with your justice because he knows exactly where we are going. Huh? I don't know, they're not communicating.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, I do know that Mr. Jackson has to leave soon. He has been indicating that we'll begin in 15 more minutes or 10, at least, just 10. We do have Timika. Is Timika here? She has a very important question as it relates to the Constituency Development Fund. Come on, man, Timika. Go ahead with your question as well in the meantime as she comes. You can ask your question.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Charlton, and I'm from the St. Catherine South constituency.
Who's a member of parliament? So ensure that you're not can be accused of dereliction of duty.
Oh, let me just put this out first. I'm not directing my question to anyone specifically. I'm just directing to anybody on the panel who would like to answer the question. All right, so firstly, on the matter of garbage collection, what I want anybody to do is like to educate the young people on that matter, because what I do understand is the NSWMA is not fully responsible for that aspect. I think it's some contractual agreement with some independent persons who are responsible for collection of garbage. What I do know is the NSWA oversees that regulation. So on Another matter is the level of community policing within community. I think Mr. ACP, am I correct? Yes, will ASP will answer me on this concern. What I want to plug is the matter of community policing. There was this debate around changing the name of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to the Jamaica Constabulary Service, right? To pretty much give a service to the population. And from the motto, serve, protect, and reassure, what I want to emphasize on the matter of protecting, is it that in terms of the approach that the JCF takes in addressing crime within the country, is it a reactive approach, which is to wait on the matter to occur before addressing the issue, or a proactive approach, which is to plan in advance to prevent the matters from occurring, or the crime to occur? So, and how is it that you plan to work or incorporate that work of the JCF with youth groups, for example, paramilitary organizations like the National Inter-School Brigade? We have a representative there. So how is it that you guys plan to work with those youth groups and capture unattached youth to be a part of or to understand the values of the JCF rather than allowing them to have an opposing view or to develop hatred to the JCF?
All right, I don't know which one to take first if I can remember them all, but I'll try my best. Just to say quickly though, because as it relates to working with youth, presently that's my responsibility. Youth club falls under my responsibility. We have several police youth clubs across this division. I can speak for St. Catherine North. I'm sure there are some in South, but I can't speak to South. But we have several police youth clubs and several initiatives where we are engaging, and this is why I'm here. We have joined forces with SDC. Each time there's a program through SDC, the police is also on board. We are supportive to the CSJP program, which is geared towards youth. We are in those. And we are across the division where youth. Once there's a youth forum, we are also a part of the NYS programs. Once there's an NYS program, police personnel from Community Safety and Security is right here assisting the process. So we are integral with the community, sharing the spaces with the youth. You talk about the brother JCF reformation, if I'm to address it in that matter. That is something a little bit above my level, but just to say to you that we know that there is some work that is being done in terms of rebranding JCF. And I'm hopeful that pretty soon you will see between name change, uniform changes, etc. Don't hold me for any time, I can't tell you. I'm not a part of those discussions, but I know those discussions are on. You should see some rebranding of JCF coming sometime. I would even use the word soon, sometime.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Okay. Tamika.
I think on the issue,
you have one more?
No, not one more, like an answer from the issue of the regulation of the NSWMA and the collection of garbage, to understand, pretty much to educate us about that.
The National Solid Waste Management Authority has island-wide responsibility. Now, they do it both ways. One, they directly use their trucks to collect garbage, and they will contract private truck operators to do it on their behalf. But the responsibility for the collection of the garbage is the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
We have a question from Tamika.
I'm Tamika and I'm from Old Harbor. Unfortunately, my MP is not here.
Who is your MP?
Mr. Warmington.
Warmington. We did try to reach out. We didn't get a response, but we'll find a way to send your message to him if it's directed at him, or is it directed at any of the other MPs for support?
Yes, it can be directed in generally. However, due to observation done in my community about the roads and the drainage, how do the MPs spend their development fund?
Have you ever gone to any of the CDC meetings in your community?
Yes, I have.
And you have the Member of Parliament coming here to look at programs with you, to look at the kind of budget that you have. You recommend to do certain things. Have you ever got that opportunity?
Yes, but yes, I have, and those meetings are a bit limited. I think there should be more.
That is very true. You're correct. Okay. Means that you really attend. But let me tell you, there is very, very little that you can do in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the development fund. It is for specific duties to be carried out, and you cannot go over those duties. Take, for instance, you can put not more than probably 4 million in sports out of the 20. And when you say out of the 20, you really get about 15 million to spend, because some is for administrative costs. Each agency takes about 5% for any program of work carried out in their ministries or in their agencies. But quickly, because I was told to wrap up quickly, it is very important for you to know the role of your development fund. You have another portion, the biggest portion that you can use from that 20 or that 15 or that 18 million is on education. You have another 1.5 on social housing, which is for nearly 29,000 people. So therefore, you have to get money from the capital expenditure for you to be able to do any meaningful work in terms of infrastructure. It is just like a little band-aid to make sure that the MP do not look like you're dummies for the CDF. But the big problem is when you come together, as you rightly said, numbers and lobby, make representation, then if you have 50 billion in the budget for road and water, because you did not say anything, it means that you might not need anything. So when you lobby, it means that your name will be up front. And when things is to happen, because the resources are small, they have to consider who come in first, who come in second, and also to prioritize as well. So it goes both ways.
Yes, as you said, parity and figures. How do you go about choosing what strategies you use in selecting projects?
Most times, for me, I can speak about myself. I have about 18 NGOs in my community. I work through the CDCs, I work through the community development organizations, and they feed me. Each scheme that I have in my constituency, we have about 4 different community-based organizations. They go around, you have people who do different things. Some respond for road, water, and so forth. They will come back to the meetings because it's very difficult if you don't use that medium, because you will end up become partial if you do otherwise. So for me, I go through my CDCs and the community-based organizations that are around in order that I can get feedback. However, I still will drive around from time to time to look to see some of the short-term things that we can do on our own.
Thank you, MP.
Well, let me just say, I want to endorse what MP Daly has said, because you have $20 million, and you're told by the CDF, the CDF committee, that you must spend a certain amount on education, on Christmas work, that you are obliged to spend $3 million to wishing and all that foolishness round about Christmas time. And I say so, thinking that it's really that you're told you can't do otherwise. And interestingly, no MP gets the money in his hand. It has to go through one of the implementing agencies. Either it is the NSWMA, the SDC, NAA Air One. So there's nobody who can turn up at my office in Riversdale and get $1 from me, because I am never given the dollar. It is put through. So you come, you submit your proposal, whatever. If I can fund it during that particular year, I will. You know, but it has to go through, it has to be submitted to the parliamentary committee. They look at it and decide whether or not they will approve it. So I can't even approve it. I may think it is something which is wise, which is desirable, but I have to then take it from the people who have submitted it to me, put it in the format prescribed, and then take it to the parliamentary committee down at Duke Street. And that committee decides whether or not they approve it to go ahead. So it is very limiting, albeit you hear, oh, he has $20 million. It's a bit of nonsense.
But quickly, I want to just tell you that the parish council have a big role to play. The parish councils, you have to make sure that you do not eliminate your parish councillors, because there's a certain amount of allocation given to each councillor. And most of the roads that you really probably sometime come and speak about, it's not under the supervision of the central government. We deal with major roads, highways. Most of those small roads that is going into your communities is really parish council roads. However, because the funding is not enough, from time to time they will make representation to us as members of parliament, and we would now go to parliament to try to our best to see how best we can remedy it.
Thank you. How many of you are more enlightened or educated on the matter? Raise your hand, participate. Good. We have accomplished something. Thank you. I'm loving this. You know I'm excited about this, right? We love when we know. And if we don't know, where go? And if we ask, where go? Something like that. We're going to know. Your question, sir.
All protocols observed. Good afternoon. My name is Shamar Mundel. I am the Regional Vice President of the National Secondary Students' Council. As such, I represent 42 schools in St. Catherine and Clarendon. Now, I'd like to start with a statement. We are often told that education is the key.
Hold on, start again, because it look like Hakeem want to video you. Remember, we are a media house, right? Talk Up Youth is a social enterprise that uses media and technology to bring true change for young people, so we have to capture everything. Go ahead.
We are often told that the children are the future, but we must never ignore the fact that there exists no future without an educated youth population. My issue is, there are too much factors affecting our children's education. Now, within my region, Region 6, the major factor is transportation of students. In the major town of Spanish Town, students are often left stranded because taxis just refuse to take them. Bus drivers refuse to take them as well, especially to the Linstead route, where I have classmates and schoolmates who are left in Spanish Town up to and past 11 p.m. because these bus drivers say, no schoolers. Now, there are many stories out there, but I'd like to share one particular story that my colleague here witnessed. We had a regional meeting, and after that regional meeting, I walked with her to the transport center. I stood there for over an hour waiting for a bus driver to actually accept her because she was in her uniform. Every bus that we approached, me not carrying no schoolers. And it was the general feeling for every single student there. It's not only Spanish Town students. We had students from the Kingston schools trying to get home as well. It is a dire situation. No, one final story. There was one day where there was an accident on the gorge, and as such it was blocked. Buses had to go through Barry. No, the bus fare was raised suddenly without anyone being advised. The bus fare was raised to $150 for everyone, including students. That the bus fare is normally $70. A primary school student, St. Catherine Primary School, he had only $110 on him. He had a seat. The bus conductor was about to throw him off the bus because he could not pay the $150. And my colleague here had to step in and pay the extra. What would have happened if he didn't have the extra money? So I'm asking members of parliament and anybody else, how can you help us to make the transportation system safer for students?
The regulatory body is the Transport Authority of Jamaica. And I think once they have the information, and they can only get this, like in your case, you would have had to record the registration number of that particular vehicle and to file an official complaint that that vehicle refuses to take a passenger, right? And that would be in breach of the license which was granted. And the more of these cases that you report, and the more these operators who are impacted, because if you have 10 complaints against a particular operator for doing that illegal activity, it is very likely that during the next licensing session, he will be removed and it will begin. And that's the way to hurt the man in his pocket. Once you hurt him in his pocket, he's going to try and comply.
I want to just come in just really quickly to ask because I think sometimes we're looking at the entire parish, and I want to know what power, when you go into the House of Parliament, what power do you have as representatives of your student constituents? As a parish, what can you do? Is there policy that can change? Is there some kind of things that you can go and speak on their behalf, where a lot of young people don't have the power to make these reports, not even the confidence? So how can you, as representatives, take this on for the parish?
First and foremost, there are rules and regulations that govern this transport system. There is a saying, and I've heard it, that after certain hours, they do not want to carry students in uniform who are classified as schoolers. There is a big issue there because some students go up to lesson classes or extracurricular activities after school to various hours. I strongly believe that we need to look back at the policy guideline, because we don't need to make any more laws. We need to make the laws become effective so that it will be able to take care of the concerns that is faced from time to time of our citizens. I personally want, and I would love from Talk Up Youth now, to get a committee, go to Transport Authority, because they have to listen to you and they have to talk to you, in order that they, from their regulation, will be able to regulate, because I am certain it is not a big issue. It is more an individual and personalized issue where people start to make their own rules out there. And therefore, if you go back to the core principles and values that govern the transport authority, we will be able to get that, in that particular situation, under some kind of satisfaction. But I want to go a little further, because I have a passion where it comes to transportation for persons, especially under certain age, going to school. I personally have been lobbying. I need to really and truly now sit in Parliament to see how best I can get a group to look at a way that the young children, more so, will be able to go on a bus with an ID card, and we are able to subsidize it to the point where the child or the children don't have to stay at home because they do not have any bus fare. I am passionate about it. I'm a school teacher first and foremost, and I strongly believe as a government we have the first responsibility, especially to primary and basic school students.
But as a follow-up, a lot of the issues that I hear, you say you're supporting this cause, you're championing this cause, and it's something that you would want to see it done. And as my colleague Empress asked a while ago, the bigger issues and the real issue is it's a problem here. Pitney gets enough because them not have enough fair people of fair try it, make up fair raise and nobody no know. Like really, what are you as a member of Parliament doing to kind of help address and allay some of these concerns, or what can you do?
There are regulations. There's no issue. We don't need to create any further laws. The laws,
so enforcement.
It is a matter of enforcement. So, and hence what I said earlier holds. The report has to be filed, but you must have the evidence to back it up. You can't just go there and make an allegation against the man and you don't have the people who are willing to come forward and sign a statement to say, I attempted to travel on bus registered PE 7804 and this is what he did, this is what he said, so that the regulators can make a determination as to whether they relicense or they grant a new permit for the persons to come on, because they do it in March of each year, March, April. That's during the period when they do it. And they're unlikely to grant a permit to a person who breaches the license. The license is in place, the regulations are there, it tells the man what to do, and if he breaches it, he pays the penalty. But there's no need to create any further, because all these matters were taken into consideration when they were determining what to put under the banner of regulations governing public transport.
So in terms of enforcement then?
Yeah, it's a matter for enforcement.
All right, go ahead. We've taken our last 3 questions, by the way. You know you've been here for almost 2 hours now. ASP wanted to add as well. Go ahead.
Whilst we hear your concern about operators not necessarily want to take you after hours, I've been there and I've seen that for myself. But in doing our background checks, there are some things that is being established. These things are established and I want for you to know. We are seeing a lot of drivers and conductors being attacked by students. That is happening. The reports are there.
There's a video in Hanover recently.
There is
as well.
one that is in the
Screamers.
public domain that is being investigated as we speak. I can take you to my department now and I can pull up a box of weapons that when we walk between the bus terminus, the school gates, we are disarming the students. You are driving fear in the operator. And when they see you coming to them in groups, especially group of boys, the easiest thing to say, no, we're not carry them. We want for you to take some responsibility likewise in how you treat with the operators. We are also out there too, in Spanish Town bus terminus, in Linstead bus terminus, saying to the students, school over from 2:30, why are you here? Get on a bus. We are taking the girls from under the arms of the boys and the boys from over the girls, get on the bus and get home. We are doing that. So we want to make it clear that it is not just the operators that need to be checked. We want, for especially those of you who are here, I believe you are some youth leader in your own right, that you send this message that it is twofold. You need to get home, you need to get home safely, but you also need to carry yourself and conduct yourself as students. You need to be respectful regardless of. The choppers are leaving the kitchen to cut meats on the buses, I'm not sure. The machetes are out there and the evidence are there. When we go to schools to do presentation, we walk with an entire crate of weapons. Handmade guns, ice picks, knives that we are taking from students, calling their parents in and talking to them. So we want for you to understand, it's not just the drivers and conductors that don't want to take you, but sometimes the behavior of some others is impacting negatively on others who want to be, commuted in their space. So we ask of you, don't push the message on one side. Let's balance it and let's fix it as a nation. All right.
Thank you. I'd like to also add, the team, my Region 6 team, we'd like to use this medium to charge you as adults while traveling. If it is that the vehicle or the bus that you're in is saying no students or whatever, get off. Show them that we are united so that we can change this issue. If it is that they're saying I'm only carrying a particular amount of students and you realize it's night, they want to get home too. They have parents that are worrying. Say to the conductor, if you're not carrying them, you're not carrying me.
Talk up you, Mr. Fee. Talk up you, Mr. Fee. Remember, there's strength in numbers, as has been highlighted throughout this town hall meeting. So we have to defend on the fellow colleagues and the fellow students as well. I'm a reporter as well, and I see a lot more than even what is reported and know a lot more than what is reported nationally. And it is a very unsafe time for students to travel, especially in the late hours. It's not even for the night, I know. In the day that happen as well, too, especially in the night time now. So we have to look out for each other. I can't better say, oh, I like she because she come from this or whatever. We have to protect each other because it's a matter now of life and death, and we have to look out for each other. Zin? Go ahead with your question.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Natalia Stennett. I am representing the National Secondary Student Council, Region 6 specifically. Now, Mr. Leslie Campbell, I appreciate your presence here. I'm from Riversdale. I keep hearing the statement that conductors and bus drivers aren't carrying us after hours. It starts at 2:30. Just laying that out there. It starts at 2. As soon as school is over, that's when they stop carrying us. So if you're not leave school early, just know so you're not going to go home early. Now, I have this issue, whereas it's not necessarily they don't want to carry us, but sometimes it's the amount of us that they want to carry at one time. The back seat, that is for schoolers, and it's 6 of us. Slim, thick, and in between, they don't care. Everybody have to open a seat there. 6 of us. And for the coasters, it's 12, 6 for the 2 back seats. Now, how is it that we are going to hold on those seats? And it's not like they're going to say, okay, since one of you can't hold, let's put you on the 3rd row. No, it doesn't work like that. If you can't hold, you're not going. Now, if I leave, because I come here a lot, I come to Spanish Town a lot because I have people representing in Linstead. I represent the Dintil Technical High School. So when I come here, I want to know, how is it that I'm going to get home? If I leave the YSC at 5 p.m., I'm not going to get to Riversdale until about 10. And Riversdale is like 45 minutes away. So I want to know, what is it that you guys will be implementing? Because you said that we should report these drivers, report the buses. When we report them and they're taken off the roads, how will we get home when there are no buses?
Well, I understand the dilemma you find yourself in. But when I say there are a number of routes available, let's say the Transport Authority, what they do surveys, and they'll go into Riversdale and the surrounding areas, and they determine, based on the number of passengers traveling the route, how many licenses they will grant. So if they remove Mr. X, they'll replace him with Mr. Y. So I don't think you need to concern yourself as to whether, after removal of one man, that whether or not you're going to get a replacement.
I see her smiling like she have something to add to that. Go.
So when we remove Mr., it's not the Mr., Misters. We remove all the X's. What will happen? What, the Y's will be implemented immediately?
You'll get the Y's.
Immediately?
No, if upon, well, I tell you what, at a personal level, if you have situations like those, you report them to my office in Riversdale, and I will deal with it from there. I know that I'll do the same.
What's the address and contact information for your
office? Yeah, well, I'm in the center of Riversdale.
Yes,
it's
I'm aware where your office is. I know where your office is.
And
I know.
I'm rather disturbed at what you're saying. Yes. Because if that really happens, I am prepared to go into the Transport Authority and to make a personal report on these people and to have their licenses revoked.
So a question.
Thank you so much. I like it. Getting some solutions. So he'll personally report it. You have a contact information for him and him office?
I have everything.
Okay.
So, sir, when will you be in office? Because I live in Riversdale, so I'll go out by the terminus and start writing.
I'm there on Fridays.
Okay, thank you.
Fridays. Talk up you, Ms. Effie. Final question.
Again, I'm Danielle. On the situation where it is said that the back seat is for the schoolers, or as she said, the 2 back seats are for the schoolers on coasters, that is an issue for me. It has always been, because depending on where you sit, if there's an accident, it impacts you negatively. Right? And I can remember standing up for my sister and getting a bus emptied because I was paying her fare home one evening and the man told me that she could not sit beside me on the front of the bus. So I had to say to him, since you're not here, me nah go with you. Right? And that is an issue. I work in Portmore and I am tired to go into the Spanish Town terminus and see these students have to be loitering, exposing themselves to a lot of stuff because, all right, one, that coaster usually carries schoolers trip, but him not do more than 2 schoolers trip. And after him do that, him not carry no more schoolers. Or, I'm going to take schoolers up to this time, up to 4 o'clock. What happened to the students who are involved in sports? What happened to the students that are coming from the champs? What happened to those students? At some point in time, I heard the government speaking about the school bus system. What has happened to that? What has happened to that?
Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of the executive in terms of, because I'm not part of the executive, in terms of what is happening with the bus service. But insofar as I can speak, I have heard it said by Minister Henry that he's seeking the resources to have a properly funded bus service for students. But that is a very expensive thing to do. And right now, he's being accused of providing a bus service for the KMTR, and what they call the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Area. And the rest of the country does not have a similar bus service. So if there's a constitutional issue brought to court by the people who reside outside of the KMTR, it is likely that the courts may say that the state itself has been discriminating against people who reside outside of the KMTR, because the system is very heavily subsidized, and the people outside are not benefiting from that subsidy. So that's a very, very complex issue, and I don't tell you that I have the answer to it at all, but it's something that you could raise at the, well, send it through via your member of parliament, and he will then take it on to the minister and the rally.
And on that same topic, I could agree with who is accusing him of that action, because I am from Linstead, and when I heard about the JUTC system, I thought it was coming to Linstead or would have passed through Linstead. Because I have been going to school in Halfway. I'm a cosmetologist, but I work at a call center, and I went to school in Halfway, right? And the students go to the transport center and they get a JUTC bus. Good. So you reach Spanish Town. How do you get home from there? Why is it that that service is not extended outside of these towns?
Okay.
It's very, very complex. And as I suggested earlier, just take it to your member of parliament and let him have the discussion with the relevant minister.
And more so in regard to the denial of students, I would want you to, because there is a place we can start. Let us start with who you have as your representative. If each of you from your various areas who have similar problems write to your member of parliament, we could start the lobbying from there. I am certain of that, and I'm hoping and praying. Do I have anyone in my constituency? I don't think I should have much problem in terms of, but let us start the dialogue. Let us start the writing, and let us look and to see whether or not it will be able to work.
I think that's a very good way on which we are going to end this, our 10th Talk Up Youth for Chat Town Hall meeting. I just want to invite everyone, just to give all our representatives here a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming. We also want to thank you, the youth of St. Catherine, and who come from Manchester, and who come from Clarendon, and who come from St. Mary, who are here today. Clap on yourself as well. You have been very, very good. Big thanks as well to the team supporting us. That's the United Nations Democracy Fund who basically pay for all of this. So we thank them as well, because if it wasn't for them, this would not have been possible. So big thanks to our sponsors. Clap them, clap them, clap them, clap them, clap them. Workshop facilitators, Sujay Boswell, raise your hand, Sujay. Marilyn Facey, raise your hand, Marilyn. Empress Golding, who's sitting right here as well, raise your hand, Empress. The entire Pixel Perfect team that's led by Conrad Mattison and everybody else who there who work with him. Alexi Da Costa as well. You have Honorac Productions, and you have my friend Uncle Gunners. Everybody, the entire team. And then Bruce Larris for the sound. Ensuring that we're crisp and clear and who fixes every issue. Clap him as well. If one of him who couldn't hear we. So a big thank you to everybody. Remember, when you go out, when you're speaking about these issues, when you're advocating, as the Empress would say, remember, use the hashtag Youth for Chat, Talk Up Youth, follow the Talk Up Youth pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and remember, Talk Up Youth, Mr.